Breaking right now on Morning News Now, a temporary ceasefire underway in Gaza. This morning, a 4-day pause now allowing humanitarian aid in as part of a breakthrough deal to release some of the hostages being held by Hamas.
We are so grateful for any hostage that will be released. On the other hand, my brother is 22. He's a young man. He probably will not be in the, not in that package.
All this after a last-minute delay led to a barrage of Israeli strikes on the Gaza Strip. We have team coverage. Also this morning, sky-high tensions over this moment caught on camera at the Miami airport. The investigation now underway, and the post-Turkey travel rush is on, with millions expected to fly back home this weekend. But will the weather cooperate? The latest on a snowy storm system that could disrupt your plans. Plus, shoppers scrolling for steals and deals on this Black Friday, but not everything is a bargain, even when it's on sale. What you should know before you click buy. And it's a trifecta of post-Thanksgiving illnesses, the warning from doctors about a spike in cases of COVID, RSV, and the flu, and how you can keep your family healthy all holiday season long. The holiday season that has now officially kicked off. Good morning. I'm Savannah Sellers. Joe is off today. Thank you for joining us. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving and were able to celebrate it with your family, people that you love. We appreciate you being here with us on this Black Friday. We begin our show this morning with breaking news out of Gaza. A temporary 4-day ceasefire between Israel and Hamas came into effect overnight to facilitate the release of both Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners. Qatar, which helped broker the deal, says 13 Israelis will be released later today, but Israel has not confirmed that. The Palestinian Authority's commissioner for prisoner affairs says Israel will release 24 women and 15 children from Jerusalem and the occupied West Bank as part of the deal. Now, the pause in fighting is also allowing for much-needed aid to get into Gaza and help with the devastating humanitarian situation there. Announcing the deal, Qatar's foreign ministry spokesperson said he hoped this agreement would lay the groundwork for a longer-lasting truce.
The criteria on which to prioritize the hostages was purely humanitarian, as you know, and our focus was on getting the women and children out of harm's way as soon as possible. The need is so great in Gaza that no matter how much aid you are going to bring in, there will be certainly more need for aid. But we are hoping to bring in as much as possible within the confines of the deal. Our aim is for this deal to end with a lasting truce.
Well, in just a few moments, we are going to hear from Dan O'Shea. He's a retired Navy SEAL commander, served as coordinator of the hostage working group at the U.S. Embassy in Iraq. But let's start things off with NBC's Erin McLaughlin. She's in Tel Aviv. Erin, good morning. So walk us through the details that we know right now of today's hostage and prisoner exchange. How exactly is this all expected to play out, and when?
Well, Savannah, it's playing out now. According to the Israel Prison Service, they have begun the transfer of 39 Palestinian women and teenagers from 2 separate Israeli prisons southeast of Haifa. They are transferring now those Palestinians to the Ofer prison in the occupied West Bank. And the plan is to release them to their relatives once the exchange of Israeli hostages is complete. The Israeli military saying it has finished its preparations to receive those hostages. According to an Israeli official, the Red Cross has a critical role to play in this as a neutral party. The Red Cross is expected to pick up the hostages from Hamas, take them across the border, the Rafah crossing, to Egypt, where they'll be handed over to the Israeli military. Specially trained soldiers will greet them there. From there, they will be identified and receive full medical examinations. Once that is complete, they will be provided a video link, and for the first time in 48 days, be allowed to speak to the family members. Those conversations, critical conversations, will be allowed to play out for as long as necessary before the hostages will then be transferred to 5 different medical centers in Israel, where they'll be physically reunited with their families. Now, that is the process as we know it, but here in Israel, people are collectively holding their breath to see if that is what actually happens today. Savannah.
And Aaron, let's talk about the truce, the ceasefire aspect of this. It's now in effect in Gaza for 4 days is the plan. Is it holding? And also, what about that aid that is part of this deal as well? Is that getting in? Is that getting distributed?
Well, for the most part, the ceasefire, which took in effect at 7 o'clock this morning, for the most part seems to be holding. According to the Israeli military, there was one rocket fired from Gaza into Israel at about 7:15, so 15 minutes past the ceasefire. That rocket was intercepted. But for the most part, the kind of ferocious fighting that we have been seeing for the past 48 days has stopped. We did see some footage from the ground in Gaza of Palestinians recognizing this pause, wanting to return home to their homes in the north. Israeli military in the social media footage firing warning shots. But we are also hearing that aid is in fact now flowing through. The Palestinian Red Crescent reporting that some 80 trucks full of humanitarian supplies has crossed into the Gaza Strip, and then critically fuel, 4 fuel trucks as well as 4 trucks full of cooking gas has crossed into Gaza. Really critical for the Palestinian people. It's seen as essential in the humanitarian community. They take advantage of each and every day of this pause for as long as it lasts. And the hope is that this pause will lead to subsequent pauses, more hostages being released, and allowing for that period of time for humanitarian aid to get into Gaza to be stretched as long as possible.
Aaron, we also now for about a week or so have been following the situation at Al-Shifa Hospital that's in northern Gaza. So we understand the IDF arrested the hospital's director. And I also understand that you spoke with one of just 2 doctors remaining inside. Again, this is in northern Gaza, that area that IDF had told people to evacuate. We saw this hospital sort of be overtaken by IDF. Tell us the latest about what you're hearing from somebody inside about what's happening there.
Yeah, well, according to the Israeli military yesterday, they arrested the hospital's director for questioning. They're suspecting him of having ties to Hamas, given that they found a tunnel network underneath the Al-Shifa hospital. And that has led to the Palestinian Red Crescent stopping the evacuation convoys that were being coordinated by the WHO and the United Nations. And it has left some 200 patients, all critically ill, all unable to walk out inside of the hospital. And I spoke to one doctor, one of 2 doctors remaining, and he said he was just absolutely desperate to get out of the hospital, but he doesn't know how that's going to happen.
All right, Aaron McLaughlin, thank you very much for reporting from Tel Aviv for us. Well, we are now joined by Dan O'Shea, a retired Navy SEAL commander and former coordinator for the hostage working group at the U.S. Embassy in Iraq. Dan, good morning, and thank you for continuing to join us to discuss this. So a Biden administration official described these negotiations as, quote, extremely excruciating. It was a 5-week process, they also say. Before a deal is ever reached and really carried out in a situation like this, how does that even start? How do those negotiations even begin to try to set those parameters for what a potential deal could look like? Especially because we are also hearing that Biden really had to get involved and push Netanyahu to take this, to be okay with this 4-day ceasefire. So how do you even start to decide on those parameters?
Well, the challenge from the get-go is this is not a state-to-state negotiation, which even during wartime, those do occur. In this case, you have Israel versus Hamas, a terrorist organization. Both have the same stated goals: to wipe each other off the face of the earth. So from the start, there was never a discussion at a table between Israel and the idea Hamas itself. So all of this was done through back channels, through diplomats at the American Embassy in Tel Aviv, through sheikhs and clerics, through non-government organizations. That's where this conversation started. And because the decisions back and forth were made through third-party intermediators up to the highest level in Qatar, to the emir himself, is why this was so complicated, and probably largely why it took 5 weeks to come to today's ceasefire.
And how do you expect the day to play out? What might we see in something like this with the actual exchange of hostages and prisoners?
Well, you can be sure, presumptually, that the media or coverage will be both going on from the transfer of prisoners from Israeli jails, also for the the hostages themselves to come out. You can be certain that Hamas, and I believe that one of the parameters was that Israel could not fly drones because they would be very concerned about if, as these hostages are being brought out, it's very sensitive for them because obviously the 50 hostages taken out were likely held with other hostages. So there'll be an intelligence value with getting those hostages out. But what has worked in the past is generally they're transported via probably ambulance or vehicles into Egypt, and then from Egypt flown into Israel. That is logically how the hostages in Gaza are going to be coming back and being reunited in Israel itself.
And now, if this pause in fighting does, in fact, hold over the weekend, how much do you see this opening the door for other potential deals down the line? What could that look like? And in what sort of cadence would you anticipate that more hostages could be released?
Well, that's the challenge. I'm cautiously optimistic that this is going to go according to the negotiation, but I'm also very fearful that any incident, I mean, the ceasefire is supposed to start at 07 local time, and there was still a barrage of weapons because a missile was fired. So it is only going to take one faction to violate the ceasefire, and it could be a different group besides Hamas, like, say, Hezbollah throwing a missile from the West Bank. So it's a very tenuous situation. But if we get through this and all 50 hostages are returned and the 150 Palestinians are returned to Gaza, it will serve as a blueprint for the future. That will all be up to the IDF because they still intend to continue the offensive in 4 days' time. But let's be hopeful that this goes smoothly and serves as a blueprint for the future to get the rest of the hostages out.
Certainly. Dan O'Shea, thank you as always for joining us. We appreciate it. Well, while today might mark the start of the holiday sales season, many retailers started slashing prices weeks ago because, unlike many a Christmas past, it is a buyer's market. NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans explains.
It's a holiday shopping season like no other. Consumers in the driver's seat as retailers fight for those precious dollars.
I'm definitely spending a lot less this year on Christmas as compared to the previous years. Right.
To entice inflation-weary shoppers, stores offered early deals way back in October. With healthy supply chains and stocked shelves, retailers are cutting prices to move goods, as much as 35% off for toys, 30% for electronics, and 25% off apparel. The best deals for kitchen gadgets and small appliances, video games, consoles, and electronics, continuing through the weekend. December will have the best deals on toys, sporting goods, and tools. This weekend's bargains: KitchenAid mixers around 30% off, TVs for less than $100 at Best Buy, and AirPods for $189.99 at the big box stores, $10 less than last year.
What's the one thing people should know before they open their wallet or their app on Black Friday?
There are going to be tons of deals this day, but they are going to continue on throughout the weekend and into December. So don't feel that need to buy right away, that you're going to miss that deal.
Only bargains if you pay them off. With credit card interest rates 20% or higher, a $1,000 shopping spree if you only pay the bare minimum. It'll take you 2 years to pay it off with $200 extra in interest. You don't want this year's shopping list to become next year's debt hangover. Christine Romans, NBC News, New York.
Well, let's now get an expert's take on how you can get the best out of the deals that we're going to see today. We're joined by David Kender. He is the editor-in-chief of the consumer website Reviewed. David, good morning. Thanks for being here. So Black Friday always been sort of this kickoff to the holiday shopping season. And I do feel like it used to really be the day where you got the best deals. But now it kind of does feel like it extends a lot longer than that. So first, just tell us, what can shoppers expect from this year's deals?
Well, this is still a big day for us, and so it feels like the Super Bowl to me every time Black Friday comes around. But yes, so analysts were predicting record levels for holiday spending headed into this year. About $221.8 billion is one number I saw just for online sales in November and December. 17% of that takes place during Cyber Week. So right now in the middle of where we are between Thanksgiving and Cyber Monday. But those discounts did start earlier. Amazon really kicked off the holiday shopping season with a second Prime Day in early October, and we've seen prices drop since then.
David, what are some of the things shoppers should look out for before actually deciding to buy something to make sure they're getting a genuinely good deal, especially when it seems like everybody tries to outdo each other with the savings around this time of year?
Absolutely. So my maxim is that there is no such thing as a good deal on a bad product. Discounts are only half of the story. And so what we do here at Reviewed is we're not just vetting the quality of the sales, but we're looking at the top-rated, top-tested products, and we're putting them at the top of the list, and we're trying to get the word out on those. So we have test labs here, and maybe you don't have test labs. Maybe not everybody has test labs. So what do you do if you're just an everyday consumer? It's easy. You take the product name for that really enticing looking sale and just open a new tab on your browser and put the word review at the end of it. So it's an Apple whatever review. And maybe you end up on a site like ours, maybe you end up somewhere else, but you're going to see what experts have to say. You're going to see what everyday users have to say. And that matters a lot. Another thing you should do is check the return policy. So most of the name brand stores, they're going to have a 14 or a 30-day window. So you don't have to feel too hesitant about clicking that buy button, because if you see it cheaper on Monday, on Cyber Monday, just return the earlier one that you got, and it shouldn't be too much of a problem. And then the third recommendation we have is that, this is for the real power shoppers now, there are some great browser extensions that you can add onto your web browser that can make you a really powerful shopper. So some of the ones we use here that are totally free for everyone are called Keepa and Camelizer, and they show price histories on Amazon. So you can actually see that the price they're saying, when they say it's the lowest price, well, you can see it's actually maybe always that price, or maybe it really is the lowest price ever. And then finally, there's one called Fake Spots, another browser extension that analyzes the trustworthiness of those user reviews. So, 4-star, 5-star product, because you can't always trust a 5-star review.
David Kender, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us. Happy shopping, right? Here we go. It's kicking off. It's time. Thank you so much for the tips. Well, holiday spending could rise to nearly $1 trillion in sales this season, but there's a growing movement to put more of that money toward gifts with a smaller carbon footprint, an attempt at rebranding Black Friday. It's called Green Friday. Well, national climate reporter Chase Kane talked with well-known tidying expert Marie Kondo about how to consider the planet during the season of giving.
'Tis the season of the biggest impact on our planet. The things we buy are responsible for 60% of our greenhouse gas emissions, and one report says 80% of what we buy on Black Friday ends up in a landfill, especially if it's clothing. The author of Consumed writes about the outsized impact of fast fashion, which, even when donated, usually ends up in the dump or littering beaches a world away.
What is the most important thing about consumerism and its impact on the planet?
That it doesn't make us happy and it's aiding in climate crisis. That we're actually drowning in stuff.
Aja suggests vintage stores for a climate-friendly alternative, or better yet, reconsider shopping altogether.
Hello, I'm Maria Kondo.
Tidying expert, best-selling author, and star of 2 Netflix series recognizes the carbon footprint of having so much stuff.
Now, having kids myself, it really resonates with me. What kind of planet are we leaving behind through this act of tidying up for the next generation?
And during the holidays, many of us struggle to think of the right thing to buy a loved one, or there can be the stress of crowds, or just spending all that time online trying to find something that you hope they won't return. Instead, Maria encourages gifts which can't be wrapped. Think massages, unique experiences close to home, a donation to charity, or even just dinner together.
Those can be considered gifts in many respects. So spending time with someone that normally you might not have a lot of time to spend with. And what is the intention behind the act? Are we trying to deepen our human connection between this person? And I think if you look at it within that lens and context, it could be an experience or a journey that sparks joy for you, the giver.
A study from IBM shows 3/4 of Americans want to make more sustainable choices. And what better way than giving the gift of memories?
Very cool. Our thanks to Chase Kane for that reporting and those ideas. Well, millions are under winter weather alerts heading into the weekend. And of course, it is a weekend where a lot of people are going to be on the move all across the country. Michelle Grossman is with us with all the frosty details. Hi, Michelle. Good morning.
Hi, Savannah. Great to see you. And it is very frosty in some parts of this country, especially throughout the Intermountain West. We're looking at temperatures well below normal, 20 degrees below normal. And we're also looking at really blustery winds. So winds gusting over 35 miles per hour in addition to the snow falling. So the snow fell yesterday and it's going to fall again today. It's continuing to fall right now, as you can see on radar. Where you see those lighter blues, that's the heaviest snow falling. And we could see up to 2 feet in some spots. Some parts of Colorado could pick up to 1 foot today. And we could see an inch per hour. So it's going to be dicey travel there with the winds blowing and the roads are going to be slick as well. 8 million people impacted by winter alerts. This is through Saturday. So winter storm warnings, that is in the pink. Winter storm watches, winter weather advisories. Notice not just the Intermountain West. It's going to move into the central and southern plains as we go throughout tomorrow. So tomorrow we're going to see the snow falling from Texas to Kansas, Nebraska. And as we go throughout the day, especially in the Intermountain West, we're generally going to see 4 to 8 inches in the lower elevations, but the higher elevations, we're going to see more. And again, could see up to 20 inches when it's all said and done as we go throughout the day. And then this is going to slide into the central plains tomorrow, then eventually move east. And then by Sunday, we're going to look at some rain falling in portions of the Northeast and even some snow in the Great Lakes. So let's time it out for you. This is today. We're looking at that heavy snow lingering across the Rockies, the high plains, really blustery conditions. You need to bundle up as you head out today because we're looking at winds gusting over 35 miles per hour, in addition to temperatures below freezing in many spots. By tomorrow, we're looking at teens in some spots. Tomorrow, the system's going to shift into the central and southern plains. Notice on the northern side, we're looking at that cold air, so that's snow. And then to the southern side, we're looking at rain. Some could be heavy. We're going to see pockets of heavy rain there. And we're going to see the rain, snow, wintry mix from Nebraska all the way to Texas. And then, unfortunately, by Sunday, that's a big travel day. We're looking at messy conditions in the Northeast, the Great Lakes, all the way down to the Southeast. On that cold side, we're looking at snow throughout the Great Lakes, even to the interior portions of the Northeast. Then on the warmer side, we're looking at some heavy rain falling. So this is going to be a couple days that we're watching this. As we go throughout the day, as terms of travel, we're looking at really nice conditions for most of the country, with the exception of that rocky storms. We have a few showers in southern Florida, but no big deal, just light showers. Could see a few showers in southern California as well. Elsewhere, we're looking really quiet. It's chilly across the country. We have 40s in New York City. We have below freezing temperatures in the Great Lakes, also the upper Midwest, but we're mild in the south central states. This is, as we look towards the interstates, notice really quiet. So I think weather-wise, traveling, it's going to be good today. If you can get out today, that's good. If you can get out tomorrow, that's even better. And then Sunday, it's going to be a little bit dicey. So this is a look at Saturday. I noticed that I had let you know that that storm's going to move into the central plains, the southern plains. That's going to be the big story for tomorrow. Otherwise, we're quiet. Chilly highs throughout the New England area, the Northeast, sun and clouds in the Tennessee and Mississippi Valley. And we're looking at a mixture of sun and clouds also in the Southwest. So the big story for tomorrow on the interstates will be the snow and rain moving into the plains. And then this is Sunday. This is what we're going to be watching over the next few days because this is one of the biggest travel days. And we do have a lot of wet weather in the eastern half of the nation.
Ooh, bad enough for delays and such?
So, yeah, we have possible delays all up and down the eastern seaboard.
All right. That is something we'll keep an eye on. Michelle, thank you so much. Sure. See you in a little bit. Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, tension on the tarmac over this video right here you're seeing. This has gone viral. It shows airport workers mishandling a wheelchair. More on the outrage and the investigation underway now. First, though, after the break, you could call it the post-turkey blues. But don't worry, your big Thanksgiving dinner doesn't mean you've completely ruined your diet. We will tell you how to get back on track and stay on track, or at least try, through the holidays. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Well, of course, we celebrated Thanksgiving just yesterday, and I hope yours was wonderful. Well, if you're anything like me, your table might have been full of fan favorites, the turkey, the stuffing, mashed potatoes, pumpkin pie. But what about weight loss drugs? Well, NBC News correspondent Stephanie Gosk has more on a weight loss drug boom that's making room at the table this holiday season.
Step aside stuffing and pumpkin pie. The use of revolutionary weight loss and diabetes medications is skyrocketing.
For some people, that this holiday is about piling up a lot of food on your plate. Is that something that you would do anymore?
No, absolutely not.
Jackie Barrow lost 75 pounds in the last year taking the diabetes drug Mounjaro.
You're just not eating the same amounts that you used to.
Yes, it all looks so good, but you just don't have anywhere to put it.
In the end of the day, how can you resist that pumpkin pie, Jackie? You can't resist it.
I don't, but I like it, just a little bit.
The conservative estimate is that at least 3 million people are taking diabetes drugs Ozempic and Mounjaro or the obesity drug Wegovy.
You think people are going to buy less turkeys?
I doubt that's going to happen.
But while the bottom line for food companies hasn't changed, the industry is definitely paying attention. In October, Walmart's CEO told Bloomberg that shoppers who were picking up prescriptions to weight loss medications were buying less food.
How do you think food companies will start adapting?
The easy options are things like portion control. If people are saying I get full faster, then maybe I want to pivot to something that's smaller portion sizes.
Which is what grandmother Jackie Barrow says she will prefer while she enjoys some of her newfound energy.
I'll be running around with the kids. I am thankful I am going to be able to do this and enjoy it more this time.
With a little less food and lots more family. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News.
Well, for many of us, though, who did really indulge yesterday, you might be waking up this morning feeling a little sluggish after that day of hearty eating. The Calorie Control Council estimates that Americans eat, get this, about 3,000 to 4,500 calories during their Thanksgiving celebrations. And this overindulging can wreak havoc on people's diet and exercise plans. It might make people want to kind of lean into the post-Thanksgiving slump. But how can you beat that? Well, joining us now with some answers is Dr. Uma Naidu. She's a nutritional psychiatrist, professional chef, and nutritional biologist. She's also the author of the book, Calm Your Mind with Food. Good morning, doctor. Thank you very much for joining us on this one. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoyed it with your family. I hope you had a wonderful day.
Thank you and good morning. I'm happy to be here. We certainly did, and I certainly think, it can cause some different emotions for many of us the next day.
Exactly. So tell us, how can people try to avoid letting kind of, when you really go in, let's say on Thanksgiving, and then impact the weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas, kind of not just be like, oh, well, it's all lost. How can you avoid that feeling?
Correct. I mean, I have some tips around that because people can feel sad, lonely, a little fatigued, disappointed, many things sluggish. But, I like to break it down into the word calm. It's control your portions. People can, have these feelings of loneliness. But one of the things you can do is also, cook more at home. So that way you're controlling your food. You can stay active, whether you at the mall, do some extra steps, do some outdoor activities. You can, have less stress. And less food guilt, rather get onto what can I eat at the next healthy meal. And you can also have a mindful mindset, just practice that to help keep yourself less stressed over the holidays, because I think that's also when we get into trouble and we start to stress eat and do things that are not necessarily going to help our body or our brain, and it can worsen that slump.
Absolutely. I like the idea of shopping as our cardio here. That's really good, especially on a day like today and what I'll be doing later this afternoon. Also, the other thing I think that can kind of get people today, not that this is bad, but the leftovers, and maybe sometimes we kind of just like redo the whole 3,000 to 4,500 calorie thing if you've got enough left in the fridge. How can people avoid overindulging in those?
I think that's a great question, because we, leave pretty full after our Thanksgiving meals. But things like making a great sandwich after that, pack it in with some leafy greens and some veggies, use some sourdough bread, and kind of step away from the delicious side dishes that we enjoyed yesterday. How about, a turkey stew? Have it with maybe a lentil pasta or zucchini noodles so that it's a little bit healthier, or, leftover salad, pack in those leafy greens and colorful vegetables, or make a baked dish, so that it's maybe a slightly lighter, healthier version of what we had yesterday, but still enjoy it.
I love that. Also, just as we look ahead, Christmas, New Year's, I'm thinking in addition to the food, there's also the alcohol, all that type of stuff, the desserts that are at parties. Just what other tips do you have as we look ahead through the holiday season?
Great question. One of the things I think is, clean up your coffee and your alcohol, meaning, those great delicious holiday drinks once in a while, but not your everyday go-to, loaded with a lot of sugar and the unhealthy fats. With alcohol, stay away from the fancy mixed drinks with extra sugar and extra levels of alcohol in it. Maybe have a cleaner cocktail. Keep active, spend time outdoors at great, snow-related and cold activities. But you get your vitamin D when you're outdoors. So enjoy that, and it keeps you active. If you're exercising, you also actually feel better. So some of those things will just keep you moving, and try to manage your stress, because that's, I think, what really gets us off kilter during the holidays.
Absolutely. That's a very good point there, too. Dr. Uma Naidu, thank you very much for joining us, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you. Thanks so much.
Well, as people come together to celebrate the holidays, it might increase your chances of getting sick. Health experts are warning of a possible holiday surge in respiratory illnesses like RSV, COVID, and the flu. Well, joining us now to discuss is NBC News medical contributor Dr. Kavita Patel. Dr. Patel, always great to have you with us. Thank you for joining us. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. So the CDC estimates that at least 780,000 people have been sick. This is with the flu so far this season, and there's also been an uptick in RSV cases, and of course we all kind of are like, what happens with COVID this year? So one quick question: if you haven't gotten your flu vaccine shot yet, what can you do to stay safe?
Yeah, if you haven't, you can still get it, but of course in the meantime, while you're trying to relax and burn those carbs and calories doing your cardio shopping, which I love, you can do all the basics. Try to avoid people if you are sick or if they're sick, and getting outdoors can help with that. And also just the basics: hand washing, avoiding touching your face if you cough, and then of course the time and true tested method of wearing a mask if you're in congested places. All of those things will protect not just from flu, but COVID and RSV.
And what symptoms should people be on the lookout for that may indicate they're coming down with one of these? Maybe especially like RSV, something where we're not exactly familiar with those as much as we might be the flu. What should people be on the lookout for?
Yeah, this is a tricky area, because at the end of the day, you ultimately do need to get tested. However, the differences between RSV, flu, and COVID can be something like RSV really affects the nose and throat. And then unless you're really young or really old, it generally does not get more severe than that. People with the flu, they feel like they're knocked down like a ton of bricks. And then with COVID, we used to see some of those symptoms, Savannah, of feeling like they couldn't smell or taste. That can still be there, but it can also sound and smell and look just like all the other illnesses we're talking about. So getting tested is your best friend, and getting some of those free monthly home antigen tests is also crucial. Have those in stock, because even if you don't feel sick now, all that travel and doing all this shopping might actually get you exposed to people, and you might see some symptoms in 3 to 5 days.
All right, give us some tips. Just remind us, and maybe also tell us things like testing. There was obviously a period of time where we were doing that maybe before we were even going to see like an elderly relative, something like that, rather than just once we already had symptoms to confirm or deny exactly what it is. What types of things should we keep in mind this holiday season?
Yeah, I think that people are still thinking about just staying away or staying healthy when they're near people who have kind of chronic conditions. And that could include the elderly, or even just really young people, even pregnant people, others who are just battling through an illness. So number one, if you are testing, most people aren't doing as much testing as we used to. I would say definitely do the testing before, and I mean literally the day of, because those antigen tests tell you in that moment, are you sick? And then think about doing it several days after you've been in a large gathering. You can do it the day after, but if you don't have that many tests, I would wait a couple of days so that you can test when you actually might be in that window of being positive. And then remember, there are tests for the flu and RSV. They're just not at-home tests that are easy to get. And so those you do need to go into the doctor for. So call your local office, or even some of the pharmacy-based clinics have that testing available. And then again, if you think you have symptoms and you do ultimately find out you're positive, let your loved ones know so that they can test, even if you've kind of flown across the country and been away. They can also pick up symptoms, even if you had them several days before.
Absolutely. Dr. Kavita Patel, thank you so much. Happy holidays. We always appreciate the reminders. See you soon. Well, coming up, outrage and an investigation over this video gone viral involving airport workers in a wheelchair. But we're learning about what happened and why advocates say this is only a small part of a much bigger problem. Stick around. This is Morning News Now. Welcome back. Well, American Airlines is looking into an incident caught on camera. A wheelchair was dropped from a luggage chute, crashing onto the tarmac, as you can see in that video. Well, the incident is highlighting some of the challenges passengers with disabilities face while traveling. This comes following more incidents involving unruly passengers. NBC News correspondent Guad Venegas joins us now from Miami International Airport with the details on that video and what else we're seeing. Hey, Guad, good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. A lot of incidents, and of course, one of the reasons why they're getting so much attention is because they've gone viral. As you mentioned, they go from mishandling a wheelchair to passengers having a meltdown on a plane. All of this as many people are getting ready to return home after Thanksgiving.
As millions travel this holiday week, there's trouble in the skies with unruly passengers. On Monday, this woman on a Frontier flight from Orlando to Philadelphia becoming upset and pulling down her pants, according to a witness.
I'm ready to be over here. Sorry, everybody. Are you serious?
And as soon as we touched down, she decided that she wanted to be the first one off the plane. And then the lady decided that she was going to use the bathroom.
Are you serious?
Another incident on board another Frontier Airlines flight, this one from Houston to Denver. Witnesses say mid-flight, the passenger began yelling she was being kidnapped. The flight diverted to a Dallas airport. NBC News reached out to Frontier Airlines regarding the incidents, but has not heard back. This, as a video of a wheelchair crashing onto the tarmac at Miami International sparks outrage online. The traveler who posted the clip writing, "I saw them do this and laugh with the first two wheelchairs. I had to get it on film." American Airlines now reviewing the incident, saying this visual is deeply concerning and we are gathering more details so that we can address them with our team.
The handlers of our wheelchairs probably don't understand is that, like I said, these are a person's legs.
Senator Tammy Duckworth, who uses a wheelchair and is an advocate, urging Congress to make air travel more accessible.
Too many air carriers have demonstrated that drastically reducing the rate of broken wheelchairs and assistive devices is simply not a corporate priority.
Another challenge for air travelers as many get ready to head back home after Thanksgiving.
Now, there are plans in the works by some airlines to be able to get the wheelchairs onto the plane. This would be a game changer, Savannah. Delta has already unveiled a prototype where individuals would be able to go into the plane and lock their wheelchair on that plane in the front row. Of course, it's going to take a lot of work and changes on those planes, but that would be so much better for people that have to check those wheelchairs and then get on the seat and obviously risk that these wheelchairs get damaged by some of these handlers, Savannah.
Oh, absolutely. So important. And also we can all do the work by just being kind and acting normal in a normal fashion while on an airplane. Guad Venegas, thank you very much. Happy holidays. Well, there was a wave of outrage following the report of a Mississippi man who was killed by an off-duty police officer and then buried without his family ever being notified. And now we're hearing from another family. They say they're in a similar situation in the same city. NBC's Blaine Alexander has more on this story.
For Mercedes Onachukwu, her big brother Mario Moore was one of a kind.
He was full of wisdom and charm, and he just had a personality that you did not forget easily.
His life wasn't easy. He'd spent years fighting a drug habit and could disappear for months at a time, but he would always come home. Until last month, when their sister, Marquita Moore, saw an article from NBC affiliate WLBT about homicides there in Jackson, Mississippi that had gone unreported. Mario's name was second on the list.
I just broke down. I felt just weak. And I couldn't do anything else.
According to the coroner's report, Moore was killed by blunt force trauma to the head. His body was found on the street, wrapped in a tarp, 8 months before his family ever knew. Then the second shock. Mario had already been buried in a pauper's grave behind the county jail.
We do not have a grave number. We don't have anything other than the coroner saying I buried his body in an undisclosed location.
For his mother, Mary Moore Glenn, the grief is unspeakable.
They put him in a bag and they just dump him in a grave like they're a dog or something. Who gives you the right to do that?
He was buried on July 14th, the very same day and location as Dexter Wade. His case sparked national outrage after NBC News first reported he was hit and killed by an off-duty Jackson police officer, then buried before his family was ever notified. His mother, Betterstein Wade, had spent more than 5 months searching for her son.
Help me understand what that time was like for you.
That time was horrible. You would lay in your bed, you would think he might have been out there suffering.
I'm going up beyond time. After NBC's report, Wade's body was exhumed, and just this week, his family held the funeral he was long denied. At the time, Jackson's mayor called it a failure in communication. The Jackson Police Department has not responded to our requests for comment on either case. A police commander told Moore's family an officer left a business card at their mother's home, which they say they never saw.
If my son had committed a crime out there, I said, you all will be coming knocking at my door. And if you didn't get anybody, you would have come back. Again.
Mario's family held a memorial service for him, but it has not stopped the questions. His homicide is still unsolved. Blaine Alexander, NBC News.
All right, thanks to Glenn for that important report. Well, coming up, from the fields to the vineyards, we are going to take you to the world-famous Napa Valley, where a former migrant worker is changing the wine industry. Stick with us. This is Morning News Now. We're back now with some financial headlines for you, starting with what experts say we can do to avoid more credit card debt this holiday season. CNBC's Bertha Coombs joins us now with that and other money news. Hi, Bertha. Great to see you. Good morning.
Good to see you on this Black Friday, Savannah. It's the biggest day for in-store shopping. And, you know, for some people, that could mean piling on more debt. A survey from Wallet Hub found that 25% of Americans are still paying off debt from last year's holiday. Experts say higher interest rates are making it more expensive to pay down that debt. That compounding just makes the debt load bigger. The advice they have is that you should make a list of exactly what you want to buy to help avoid making expensive impulse buys. They also say put your credit card rewards points to work. Redeem them for cash back, travel credits, and gift cards to try to bring down that mountain. Meantime, United Airlines is considering using passenger data to target ads to customers. Wall Street Journal reports that the ads could appear on United's in-flight entertainment system or on the United app. Executives are carefully discussing just how to launch ads in a way that won't annoy passengers. Customers would have the ability to opt out. And Hollywood may not be in a big festive mood. Holidays traditionally a busy time for movie-going, but folks apparently didn't turn out in force over Thanksgiving. Disney's Wish earning just $8 million on its opening day last Wednesday. The animated film actually cost $200 million to make. Apple's original movie, Napoleon, which stars Joaquin Phoenix, grossed less than $8 million. It also cost about $200 million to produce. I don't know about you, but generally I find Christmas is when most of us like to get out and go see movies rather than, there's so much football to watch on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I haven't been hearing the best things about Wish, but I do still want to see it. But interesting. All right, Bertha, thank you so much. Happy holidays. See you in a little bit. Well, wine flies when you're having fun. And with family and friends coming together, it's safe to say many Americans will be indulging in a glass of wine or two or three this holiday weekend. But who makes the best wine? Well, NBC News correspondent Tom Yamas has an answer to that question that might surprise you.
At Schaefer Vineyards, Elias Fernandez walks row after row, checking the vines, the grapes, and feeling the sun.
The sun reminds me a lot as a kid growing up because I did a lot of work out in the fields.
A pioneer in the Napa Valley, Elias has gone from migrant worker to master winemaker.
I've been doing this for 40 years. Wow. This will be my 40th harvest.
Along the way, studying viticulture in college and creating this 2008 vintage, which won Wine Spectator's coveted Wine of the Year.
Do you think you're a better winemaker because you've lived on those fields?
Yes, I definitely do, because I can connect with the people in the fields very easily. So to me, it gives me a little bit of edge for sure.
That edge shared by a growing group of Hispanics, now shaking up the billion-dollar wine industry.
Are Mexican Americans making some of the best wine on this planet?
For sure, and they're doing it right here in Napa Valley and other parts of California.
Senior editor James Molesworth tastes, rates, and writes for Wine Spectator. He's noticing more and more Hispanics making their mark.
I think what you have there is probably a little more soul, which is hard to quantify, of course, but again, it's that if your family name is on this bottle, you're taking it very seriously.
For this family, Oscar, his wife Lola, and their nephew, there was just one name for their wine.
My first thought was Llamas. We have to honor our family name here in the Napa Valley.
A great name, but no relation to this reporter.
It's really hard, and that's been our biggest challenge, is we are this small brand competing with a lot of big guys out there.
They're betting wine drinkers appreciate not only their big, bold Cabernet, but also from planting to blending to bottling. One family did it all.
And I think that it's really time to highlight those individuals that farm these grapes. And I think it's kind of a responsibility of ours to bring full circle winemaking in the Napa Valley for the Mexican-American vintners.
From the fields to the cellars to your dinner table, the American dream in a glass.
Oh, very cool. Our thanks to Tom Llamas for that story, and cheers. Well, coming up, building a solution. Up next, how one school district and its students are working to help solve America's teacher shortage. This is Morning News Now. Welcome back. We're going to end this hour looking at how one city is taking a new approach to solving the country's teacher shortage. In Aspen, Colorado, where the cost of living is among the highest in the country, the school district is trying to help out, not by paying teachers more money, but by having high school students build tiny, more affordable homes to house future educators. NBC News correspondent Valerie Castro has this story.
In the heart of the Rocky Mountains, a house is taking shape.
We're just going to nail them in bit by bit.
The master builders, high school students in Aspen, Colorado.
Seeing the walls actually come up in the first place, that was really cool to see.
Their instructor, John Fisher.
And this next piece of siding.
The project is more than a hands-on learning tool. This 190 square foot tiny home will one day house a teacher from this very district. Where would you sleep?
So you're going to sleep in the loft.
Okay.
To be able to lay down and not raise up and hit your head.
An answer to the need for more affordable housing. Aspen is a billionaire's playground. The median home listing price around $3 million. But properties like this easily go for much more, pricing out teachers with a starting base pay here of just over $50,000.
If they didn't have that affordable housing,
yes,
would you be teaching here?
Oh, I would not be teaching here if they did not have the affordable housing, because the first question I asked during my interview was, is there housing available?
The tiny homes are still in the works, but 37% of Aspen School District employees do live in other district-provided housing and apartments, like journalism teacher Kimberly Zimmer.
That was the game changer, because there is absolutely nowhere, I would never have been able to break into this community.
And that's the point of the tiny dwellings. You've heard of starter homes. Well, consider these starter rentals.
If you're spending more than half of your income as a teacher on your place to live, that's not viable. And that's the situation for a lot of our educators here.
Scott Cooper works on the board that oversees the project, gathering grant money and donations to pay for construction materials and tools. And Aspen teachers are not alone. Across the country, renting even a one-bedroom is a stretch for teachers in a slew of cities, according to the National Council on Teacher Quality. The least affordable school districts, San Francisco, Portland, and San Diego, where starting teachers would pay more than 40% of their salaries for the average rental. New York, Boston, and D.C. not far behind. That's driving some districts to fund affordable housing developments, popping up in places like New Mexico, Texas, and Arizona. The Chino Valley Unified School District north of Phoenix also opted for tiny homes, and the country's second largest teachers union opened this affordable housing for teachers in West Virginia. Back in Colorado,
4x4.
Students who work on the homes learn trade skills and in some cases can also earn college credit.
In just a few months, when this is all completed, more than 50 students will have had a hand in the design, construction, and finishing touches on this tiny home.
And then on the back, you have
a window.
Senior Jonathan Kelly works to fine-tune the blueprints for another tiny home.
Is this something you're interested in as a career?
Yeah, I'd like to go into architecture.
A tiny blueprint building a foundation for a big career and a place for a teacher to call home.
Our thanks to Valerie Castro. What a cool concept, and how amazing that those students are doing it for teachers. Well, that's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now on this Black Friday, but the news continues right now, so don't go anywhere. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving with those you love. I'm Savannah Sellers. Joe is off this morning. Right now on Morning News Now, tentative truce in effect. A 4-day pause in fighting between Israel and Hamas has begun ahead of today's expected exchange of Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners. The truce also allows for critical aid to cross over into Gaza, which has been devastated by an Israeli bombing campaign that has killed more than 14,000 Palestinians. That is according to Gaza's health ministry. Qatar mediated the deal and provided some details about the agreement.
The criteria on which to prioritize the hostages was purely humanitarian, as you know, and our focus was on getting the women and children out of harm's way as soon as possible.
We'll have the latest on the ground and also on what to expect from today's hostage deal. Well, if you're looking to bag a bargain on Black Friday, look no further. All the advice you need to find the best deals online and in stores. And for those of you looking for a getaway, we've also got tips on finding the cheapest flights. Also this morning, we are shining a light on the women leaving their mark in business as we revisit the best moments of our Women Mean Business series from this year. Plus, we're bringing some early festive spirit to Morning News Now with a special holiday edition of our Can't Miss list, looking at the best Christmas movies to watch this year. That is with our very good friend Darren Karp, and it's a lot of fun. Thanks again for joining us on this Black Friday. We're going to get started this hour with breaking news out of Israel and Gaza. Overnight, a 4-day ceasefire between Israel and Hamas came into effect as part of a deal to release some Israeli hostages as well as Palestinian prisoners. All of them are expected to be women and children. The deal temporarily halts a brutal Israeli bombardment that had killed thousands of Palestinians and allows for much-needed aid to enter the besieged enclave. In a few moments, we are going to hear from our friend, former NBC News correspondent Martin Fletcher. But before that, let's get to our foreign correspondent, Raf Sanchez. He's in Tel Aviv with the very latest. Hey, Raf, good morning.
Israel's military says its helicopters are on the runway, ready to go collect those first hostages just as soon as they're freed. We're expecting to see those 13 women and children handed from Hamas to the Red Cross inside of Gaza and then taken to the border and transferred to Israel's military. And at the same time, Israel is preparing to release 39 Palestinian prisoners in exchange. But this whole deal depends on that ceasefire agreement holding. This morning, for the first time in 49 days, a wary calm in Gaza as the ceasefire takes hold. These Israeli tanks moving away from the front line. And cautious optimism that soon the first hostages will be released. 13 women and children snatched on October 7th. The Israeli military releasing video this morning of preparations to receive the hostages, including the little kids. President Biden saying overnight he hopes American toddler Abigail Moore Edan will be among the first freed.
My fingers crossed.
Abigail turns 4 years old today. Israeli troops have been instructed not to tell her that her parents were murdered by Hamas.
To just imagine that she comes home and is with her family is our light right now in such a very dark and terribly horrific period.
Other families still waiting. Daphne, 15, and her 8-year-old sister Ella haven't been seen since their kidnap was streamed live on Facebook. But their mother told they're not on the list of hostages coming out today. In Gaza, a final massive explosion before the ceasefire. Israel says it blew up Hamas tunnels underneath the Al-Shifa hospital. The first of hundreds of aid trucks crossing over from Egypt, a welcome sight, even if it's a fraction of what Gaza needs. Palestinian civilians venturing back out onto the streets. We're full of hope, this man says. This family leaving the UN compound where they'd been sheltering from Israeli airstrikes. But many are desperate to return to the north and see if their homes are still standing. Israel's military is forbidding that in what will be an early test of this fragile peace.
Now, the hostages will initially be taken to an air base and then by helicopter to hospitals across Israel where they'll be reunited with their families. And the Israeli military has given a lot of thought about how to deal with these little kids who have been through so much. The soldiers have been told, don't cover your faces and make sure to smile to reassure the kids. Back to you.
All right, Ralph, thank you so much. Well, we are now joined by Martin Fletcher, a former NBC News correspondent, Tel Aviv bureau chief, and somebody our viewers are lucky enough to have become used to seeing as we've had this conversation because you continue to be so generous with your time with us. Martin, good morning. Thank you for being here. So as we've discussed, you have this personal connection to the conflict in addition to an expertise in this area, but you had several relatives who were taken hostage by Hamas. Two of them were released weeks ago. Two women, but we know that you do still have other relatives of yours that are being held, which puts you in this unique position of being personally affected by what could happen today. What's going through your mind, first of all, if you wouldn't mind sharing, but also if you could tell us about any type of information or communication that you are receiving as you await news of family members, how that is being communicated to people who are still going through this.
Well, Savannah, the members of the hostages who are about to be released, the families have already been told who is on that list. And of course, that question of whether it's your family or other families, will your loved one come home today? So in the case of my particular family, which is not unique by any means, unfortunately, sadly, we're of course hoping that our hostages, our members of the family will be released this week. I still have seven members of my family are still held hostages of my wife's family, including Yael. She's 3 years old. Nave, he's 8 years old. And we have Noam, who's 12 years old. So we're hoping they're going to be free today. And if not today, then tomorrow, maybe the next day. This is really a difficult time for many families. It's this contradiction, this is like manic depressive state of joy, hoping it's going to be your family, and sorrow if it isn't.
Oh, manic depressive, what a way to put it. Martin, there's been this reporting on how instrumental President Biden was just in pushing personally with Netanyahu to get this done, because of course it's coming with this deal attached to it, which is 4 days of a ceasefire, as well as releasing those Palestinian prisoners, about 150 of them. What do you think, in your expertise from having spent so much time in the area and obviously still having a personal connection to it, about the support of getting hostages released versus this longer-term goal of dismantling Hamas? How do those conversations and feelings around that seem to be going over?
Well, yeah, Savannah, that is the question. That is another contradiction within Israel today. What's the priority, to get the hostages out or to defeat Hamas militarily and politically? And in the beginning of this horrific situation, it was pretty clear that the Israeli government's priority was to defeat Hamas and to bring out as many hostages as possible. But because of the tremendous pressure from the families and from the American administration and from a large part of the Israeli population, those priorities changed. And now it seems that to get the hostages out is as important, as winning the war against Hamas, certainly in terms of lip service. Now, I emphasize that lip service because it isn't clear really what Prime Minister Netanyahu and his government really wants first. One official described this deal of a humanitarian pause and a hostage swap as an American deal. They described it as a Biden deal, not a Netanyahu deal. There's tremendous conflict within the Israeli government about whether Israel should have agreed to this swap or not. The more right-wing members of the government were totally against any idea of a swap of hostages for Palestinian prisoners. They wanted the war to continue and to Israel to win the war militarily and not be constrained by the emotional appeal of the families for their loved ones to be brought back to Israel. The right wing in Israel's government thought that emotional appeal stood in the way of defeating Hamas. And so there's been a major break within the Israeli government, and that's reflected within the Israeli people. You know, there's about 40 to 45% of Israelis have said, no hostage deal, win the war. And there's about the same number, of a little bit more, I believe, according to the opinion polls, says, no, get the hostages back. That's our priority as a nation. And so the conflict within the government, conflict within the people. Obviously, the people who most want the hostages released are their families.
Absolutely. Martin Fletcher, thank you so much. It really is incredible that you are going through this on a personal level and you continue to share your expertise with us. We appreciate it, and I'm praying for your family. We'll keep checking in. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Savannah.
Now let's get a check at your weekend forecast. Of course, it's a big weekend, big travel weekend, big family weekend. Michelle Grossman is back here in studio. Hi, Michelle.
Hi there, Savannah. And the weather's going to impact our weekend. Not so much tomorrow, not so much today, but Sunday's going to be a big day in terms of precipitation. Let's talk about today because we are looking at a big storm. It's in the Rockies, lots of snow, heavy snow, really blustery conditions. Temperatures well below normal, winds gusting over 35 miles per hour. We could see up to 20 inches in some spots in the highest peaks of the mountains of Colorado. Otherwise, we're generally looking at 4, 6, 8 inches of snow. And looking at the rest of the map, we're relatively quiet. We have some showers in Southern California expected. Same story in Southern Florida. Otherwise, we're looking very dry. Chilly, though, in the Northeast, also the Ohio Valley, the Midwest. This is Saturday, another quiet day for the most part. We're looking at the Rockies snow moving into the plains. So now we're looking at snow falling from Nebraska through Kansas and then rain into Oklahoma and Texas. So on the colder side, seeing the snow. On the warmer side, we're going to see some rain falling. Plenty of sunshine in the southwest. Seasonal and sunny for the most part in the east as well. We're looking at chilly conditions in the Northeast and also in New England, some temperatures below freezing there. And then as we get towards Sunday, this is where it gets busy. This is a busy travel day, and the weather is going to be busy as well. We will see travel impacts throughout the Midwest, the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, portions of the interior Northwest into the Mid-Atlantic, also the Southeast. That's a storm that we're looking at today in the Rockies. It's going to make its way across the country, and that's where we're going to look at some wet weather in the eastern half of the nation, thawing out in the west, and we're looking at chill lingering throughout portions of the southwest. So that's a day we're going to watch very, very closely. In terms of the snow falling in the Rockies, we're looking at heavy snow in spots. We had a white Thanksgiving yesterday. That means snow was on the ground, and we're seeing that snow continuing today. Millions under a winter weather alert, whether it's a winter storm warning, that is in the pink, a winter storm watch is in the blue, and a winter weather advisory is in white. Widespread snow from the Rockies to the plains into portions of the Midwest, the Great Lakes over the next several days. This is through Sunday as this storm system kind of makes its way across country. And again, we could see a dicey day throughout the plains tomorrow with some icy roadways and also some chilly temperatures.
All right, let's just hope it's not too bad on Sunday to create too much of a mess.
I know.
All right, Michelle Grossman, thank you so much.
Sure.
And happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
Well, today kicks off the traditional start of the holiday shopping season. And this year, maybe it seems a little less impressive because you've seen retailers already slashing prices, but a lot of shoppers are out this morning hunting for bargains. I will be one of them this afternoon. Let's bring in NBC News business and data reporter Brian Chung. He's out there. He's among the shoppers. He's at a mall on Long Island for us. Brian, are you seeing any lines, anything getting crazy out there?
Yeah, good morning, Savannah. I haven't gotten anything yet, but look, the stores here opened as early as 6 a.m. And I've been pretty surprised about how many people have already been out and about. You can see people behind me with bags already. So a lot happening here. It's a bit different from the days of years yonder where people were lining up at 2 or 3 a.m. to get tickets just to get the right for the doorbuster deals. But these days, the deals are still deals, which means there's shopping to be had.
It's the busiest day for the retail holiday weekend. Black Friday. Almost 131 million people saying they plan on shopping today as part of a holiday shopping spree expected to total more than $957 billion. The dash for deals coming at a time when prices are 3.2% higher than last year and credit card interest rates of almost 25%.
Yeah, I won't buy anything full price right now. It has to be on sale.
Retailers hoping to convince shoppers to open their wallets with deeper deals. Data in the lead up to Black Friday showed average discounts of 24%. That's better than what consumers have seen in the last 4 years. Experts say the best deals will depend on what you're buying. Electronics, small home appliances, footwear are among the more deeply discounted goods. The question, is Black Friday truly the best time to get a deal? Experts say yes, if you see that specific item on your list.
Black Friday deals tend to be a little bit
tighter in terms of maybe it's one model or one category.
Cyber Monday offering less specific but a broader range of deals, better for perusing.
I find Cyber Monday to be a slightly more exciting day to shop because there's just more wiggle room within the sales.
Shoppers are a little more hesitant to wake up early for Black Friday doorbusters. Placer.ai says Black Friday visits to the mall last year were down 14% compared to Black Friday 2019.
There are lots of opportunities to find value. And so the relative importance of Black Friday has declined. But it is still the biggest retail day for many retailers.
Offering a chance to get some big deals to get the perfect gifts for loved ones.
And by the way, that those are dragging their feet on holiday shopping will benefit from the fact that there's an extra weekend because Christmas falls on a Monday this year. That's welcome news to the 21% of Americans that say they won't start shopping until December. Those kind of late shoppers like me, Savannah.
Yeah. Yeah, we said last hour, shopping is my cardio when we were having a little health conversation in the holiday season. So can't wait to get out there and get to it. All right, Brian, happy shopping. Thank you so much. Well, the holiday shopping season, of course, upon us, but record high credit card debt and inflation might impact holiday spending among Americans. This comes as several retailers aren't so optimistic as we head into the year's biggest shopping day. Many are actually bracing for a challenging holiday season, but many are also benefiting. So here to break down all of this and these holiday shopping numbers is Shopify President Harley Finkelstein. Harley, good morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Happy Black Friday.
Thank you very much.
This is like your Super Bowl, right?
It's the Super Bowl for our businesses on Shopify and for Shopify itself.
And you're spending your morning with us, so we really appreciate it.
We're
So first, just walk me through, I mean, hearing that they're casting doubt, even though people do still seem to be spending, whether they should be or shouldn't be, given the credit card debt is a different conversation. But what is this potential doubt about from retailers?
Yeah, look, I think what we're seeing is that consumers, the U.S. consumer is really the superstar of the U.S. economy. They're incredibly resilient. But what we're seeing right now in real time is they're buying from brands they love. They're actually spending their money very intentionally to buy things that are important to them, as opposed to buying a lot of things. They're buying specific things of high quality and high meaning to them.
And what are we seeing right now? So how is this impacting Black Friday? We'll talk about Cyber Monday in a minute.
Sure.
But right now, I know you've got like some numbers first.
We do.
Right? I mean, it's still the morning. It's still pretty early.
It's very early in the morning on Black Friday. Yeah. So
that are kind of amazing.
So anyone can check this out right now. If you go to shopify.com/BFCM, which stands for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you can actually see a real time right now shopping happen across the globe. And so I've just pulled up some new numbers here. It's really cool. Okay. So average cart price in the U.S. right now is $119. That's up since last year.
Oh, wow.
We saw peak sales on Thanksgiving, 1.6 million per minute. But right now, as we sit here together, 12,000 orders per minute. We're seeing happen across Shopify, $1.4 million in sales per minute, and over 6.5 million unique shoppers have bought from a Shopify store. We're about 10% of all U.S. e-commerce. So right now, there's a lot to be optimistic about.
Yeah, well, how does that compare to years past? I mean, hearing those numbers, are you like, oh, wow, people are up and they are shopping?
Yes, these are better numbers than we've seen in the past. Not just that, but we're really seeing that there are a couple new trends. First of all, Gen Z is really powering this. For retailers and businesses that want to be very successful in the future, they have to pay attention to Gen Z. Not only are they buying more than ever before, but the way they're buying is different. For example, they care about experiences. They want online shopping and offline shopping. 50% of Gen Z shoppers that we polled told us that they actually want to buy something. 50% said off social media, so they're buying on social commerce as well, which we power at Shopify. And the things they're buying, they're things that in many cases are sort of this self-gifting thing, which is very different. Historically, Black Friday was about buying stuff for other people. This year, people are buying stuff for themselves.
Self-gifting makes it sound kind of cute.
It is cute, yeah.
Ain't nobody else getting
less indulgent, yes.
Yeah,
but as you said, there's a lot to be optimistic about. But I think what we're seeing here is a tale of two retail worlds. And the retail world that lives on Shopify are the brands that consumers love.
Absolutely. All right, Black Friday, obviously today. We've got Small Business Saturday.
We do.
We have Cyber Monday. Just quickly kind of walk people through what to expect and what maybe they should keep an eye out for.
Okay, a bit of an Easter egg on the map that I showed you, which is really cool. Every single time you see a firework in purple, that's a new business getting their very first sale.
Oh,
so these are actually small businesses that are being created on Shopify, and you're seeing it happen every couple of seconds right now, which is quite amazing. But Small Business Saturdays is very important. One other thing about the Gen Z demographic, buying small is actually very big business. A lot of Gen Z shoppers are are choosing to buy from small businesses in their communities. And we do a lot of that on Shopify because we make it so easy to set up an online store or business.
Yeah, small business and a lot of green, climate-friendly businesses, very big with Gen Z.
Yeah, they want to buy from brands whose values reflect their own values. I mean, intentional shopping matters, and that's happening on Shopify.
Absolutely. Harley, good luck with your Super Bowl. Happy shopping. Thank you very much for joining us. Happy holidays,
Thank
too.
You, you too.
Well, if a vacation is maybe on your Black Friday shopping list, you could be in luck as airlines are cutting their prices on some of their most popular routes. Clint Henderson is managing editor of news at The Points Guy, friend of the show also. He joins us now with some tips as you maybe try to book your trip. Hi, Clint. Good morning. Happy holidays. Let's jump right into some of the best bargains you've seen on domestic travel.
Okay, American Airlines has flights as low as $99 for places like New York to Miami. Short-term pricing there, but jump on that if you can. Alaska Airlines, flights as low as $49 or 4,500 Alaska miles. That's pretty good. We're seeing cross-country flights on Alaska as low as $119. So jump on those deals. We've also got Breeze Airways, which flies to a lot of regional airports. They're offering up to 60% off. But again, this is for the next couple of months only. So jump on that if you can. And then Frontier has this interesting all-you-can-fly pass. I'm not a buyer of this because there's so many terms and conditions, but a lot of people get really excited by the idea of all-you-can-fly.
Oh, yeah. All you can fly, terms and conditions, Frontier Airlines. Read the fine print. Let's just put it that way. All right, let's talk about overseas. What are you looking at right now?
Okay, so Air Canada has a pretty wide-ranging sale. The earlier you buy with Air Canada, generally on Black Friday, the better off you're going to be. But we're seeing flights to Toronto from numerous U.S. gateways as low as $155. You've got Air Tahiti Nui with a really interesting offer, $1,500. You can fly 4 different international destinations within a year. That looks really interesting to me. Places like Japan, Auckland, New Zealand. Love that idea. If you can make it work for you. Yeah. Of course, Tahiti. British Airways up to $600 on vacation packages. And vacation packages are a real sweet spot for a lot of airlines. You can save up to 40% sometimes by booking flights and hotels together. Check out AA Vacations, Delta Vacations. Speaking of Delta, they also have a $300 off vacation packages today. And then the last one is TAP Air Portugal, $2,000 round trip in business class to Europe. Great deal if you can get it.
That is a great deal. Wow, round trip. Oh, my goodness. That is an amazing deal. All right, Clint, quickly, just tell us, what else should we keep in mind, though, when we're buying something other than just the price?
You got to look at the terms and conditions, as I mentioned, really carefully, because there's limited time offers for some of these, and you don't want to get in a jam with that. Like I said, vacation packages are where I would focus because great deals there. And then just be aware, most point sales you see, buy points, they're not going to be worth it. So I would skip those.
All right, there you go. Clint Henderson, great tips. Happy holidays. Happy traveling. We appreciate you coming by.
See you later.
Coming up, date for freedom. It was one of the most shocking murders of recent years. Now disgraced athlete Oscar Pistorius, who shot his girlfriend through the door of the bathroom, has learned when he will be released on parole. We'll bring you the details up next. We're back now with some international headlines for you. Oscar Pistorius is set to be out of jail earlier next year. Claudio Lavanga joins us now from Rome with that and more. Hey, Claudio, good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. Well, that's right. Earlier today, Oscar Pistorius, the disgraced South African Paralympian who murdered his wife in a case that shocked the world, has been granted parole. Now, the double amputee sprinter known as the Blade Runner for his prosthetic legs was convicted of fatally shooting Riva Steenkamp 4 times through a locked bathroom door at his house in 2013. At a hearing in Pretoria, Pistorius was told he will now be released on January the 5th. Now to Ireland, where last night outraged crowds took to the streets of Dublin after 3 children and a teacher were injured in a knife attack. It took officers several hours to regain control of the riot. Irish police have arrested 34 people after several vehicles and shops were badly damaged and looted during the violent clashes. Following the knife attack, a man in his late 40s was arrested by police. He's also being treated for serious injuries, and police said they were not looking for any other suspects. Police say they are keeping an open mind about the motive. And we end up in Madrid, where yesterday 12 million LED bulbs were lit to mark the start of the Christmas season. Approximately 90 miles of lights will illuminate all districts of Spain's capital. Thousands attended the lighting ceremony with added fireworks and, of course, Christmas songs. Savannah?
Oh, love that. Rome, where you are, is also such a magical place to be for Christmas. I'm jealous. Claudio, thank you so much, and happy holidays. Well, turning now to some financial headlines. We've got new reporting on a possible reason behind Sam Altman's shocking dismissal from OpenAI. You remember that this week. CNBC's Bertha Coombs joins us with that and other news. Hey, Bertha, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Savannah. Yeah, it's hard to believe this all has taken place over the course of 1 week. But the co-founder of OpenAI, Sam Altman, he's back at the helm of the company. But researchers at the startup had a stark warning for the board that may have led to his initial firing last Friday. Reuters reports they sent the board a letter about a powerful breakthrough in AI technology that they said could threaten humanity. Maker ChatGPT hardware progressed on what's known as Q-Star. It's a form of super intelligence that could be actually smarter, or at least as smart as humans. Sources cite this letter as one factor among other grievances that led to Altman's firing. OpenAI has declined to comment. Meantime, Nissan is ramping up its investment in electric vehicles. The Japanese automaker will spend more than $1 billion to update its factory in England to make electric versions of its best-selling model, the Juke. Nissan has a target of electrifying its entire lineup, in Europe anyway, by 2030. And Peloton's CEO is apologizing after the company's Thanksgiving ride struggled with heavy demand. Many users were unable to get into Peloton's annual Turkey Burn event, which was attempting to break the Guinness World Record for the largest live cycling class. Instead, it kind of broke the Peloton internet. CEO Barry McCarthy says the number of members trying to join overwhelmed the system. Peloton says the class is available on demand, and they have an encore version of the Turkey Burn this morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. So when you head out of here, Savannah, you can go hop on your Peloton.
No, I won't. I'm also surprised and impressed by how many people were doing that on Thanksgiving. What? Wow, good for them. All right, Bertha Coombs. Yeah. Thank you. She's impressed too. Coming up, the best of women mean business. We're bringing you some of our favorite moments in our series. We'll take a walk down memory lane, highlighting some of our favorite guests who are shattering glass ceilings and breaking barriers all over the place. That is coming up next. Welcome back. Today we are taking a look back at some of our favorite segments in our Women Mean Business series. We're going to kick it off with someone seriously impressive. You might remember this interview with Admiral Linda Fagan, the 27th Commandant of the Coast Guard. Here's her story.
When Linda Lee Fagan graduated from the Coast Guard Academy in 1985, hers was just the 6th class that had included women. And on her first 2-year tour, she was the only woman on her ship. 3 decades of hard work saw her rise from 17th District Commander to Commander of the Pacific Region. And in June last year, she became the first woman 4-star admiral in Coast Guard history, serving as the service's second in command. But a year later, she shattered the glass ceiling, becoming Commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard, the first woman to lead any branch of the U.S. Armed Forces. A historic achievement and an inspiration to others, including her daughter, who is now a lieutenant in the Coast Guard. Admiral Fagan is a woman who means business.
And Admiral Fagan joins us now here in studio. We are so excited. You're our first Women in Business right here, and we're so happy to have you. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Savannah. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're so excited. Okay, so we just laid out a little bit of your story there, your trajectory, this amazing one, and 2 things that really stick out to me. Of course, the fact that you are the first woman to lead any branch of our armed services. But also, one of the things that I know is kind of embedded within these roles you've held is at one point, you were the executive assistant to the role that you now have running the Coast Guard. Walk us through that journey and what it looked like for you. How do you kind of go up in your role?
I was the executive assistant to Thad Allen when he was Commandant. I was a junior captain Never dreamed that I would one day hold the job as a commandant. But we're a military service, and it's very much you start at the beginning. And for me, it has been a 41-year journey since I entered the Coast Guard Academy as a fresh out of high school graduate. And it's just been fantastic.
Being the first is incredible. Being the first in whatever it might be can also be really hard. What's it been like to be the first woman to be running a branch of our armed forces?
So I actually don't think about being the first that much. I'm really focused on our workforce, on this incredible organization that is the Coast Guard. We're in New York right now. We're celebrating our 232nd birthday as an organization. Eagle, America's tall ship, is in with a bunch of young cadets. They'll be pulling into the Intrepid Pier today. And it has been a journey. When I started, there were not women serving in the senior ranks. I think the senior women were only lieutenant commanders. Yet now my daughter experiences a Coast Guard where women are serving at every level, including commandant. And it's just, it's exciting. And I really am enjoying the opportunity to advocate for the men and women of the Coast Guard.
I want to ask you about being a mom and in your role in just a second. But first, I got to ask about one of the things we just said in there. You're the only woman on a whole ship. What was that like?
So my first tour was on the Coast Guard cutter Polar Star. It's a heavy icebreaker. That ship is still in service. At the time, there was only room for female officers to be on board, and so I was the only officer on board for 2 years. That crew is now fully integrated, and men and women serving alongside each other, and they will depart for Antarctica later this fall and help support our national security there.
That says a lot about you, though, the only woman for years on a ship. Okay, so let's talk about being a mom and the role you've had. And then I also want to talk about your daughter, Eileen. I think there's this total conception, like, can you really have it all? How do you do both? I mean, what was it like for you in your role? Obviously, as we like to say here, a woman who means business, but also a mother.
Yeah, I was very, very fortunate that I was able to, strike the balance between what was required of me to continue to progress professionally and then raise a family. I've got two fantastic daughters. My youngest, as you mentioned, Eileen, is in the service. She's a 2016 graduate of the Coast Guard Academy. And my oldest is in D.C. She's working for Pew. And they're just great. I like to say kids, they're always your kids. They're now adults. But it was just fantastic to raise them and be able to have a profession in the Coast Guard.
Yeah, and this trail that you've blazed that now your daughter's following behind on.
Yeah, she likes to point out, she goes, representation does matter. I don't have to look any further than my mom to see that I can do anything in the Coast Guard.
Oh, that must be so incredible to hear. That must make you so proud. We love to ask in this segment a piece of advice. We've gotten some great ones, sort of taken notes throughout this. For a young woman, maybe setting off in a military career, maybe not, but just as somebody who's had to climb up through what was at one point anyway, a male-dominated world, what's a piece of advice?
So you're braver and more courageous than you know, and just step into the opportunity. It'll often feel like hard work, but it is nothing but opportunity, and you absolutely can do anything.
Oh, my gosh, what a great reminder. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I wish I could give you a hug in these chairs. Thank you for your service. Thank your daughter for your service, your whole family. We so appreciate you. So exciting to have you on Women Mean Business. Thanks for coming.
Thanks very much, Savannah. Thank you.
As you could tell, I just absolutely loved her. And what a little piece of advice there. You're more courageous than you know. Well, thank you so much again for being with us. Coming up, sisters keeping it saucy. How two first-generation Vietnamese Americans are infusing their heritage, into their successful food line. We've got another favorite moment from our series, Women Mean Business, coming your way up next. Welcome back. We're continuing to take a look back at some of our most memorable interviews from our series, Women Mean Business. Since we started, we've also highlighted several stories of women breaking barriers in sports. One of those women, Kim Davis, the National Hockey League's Senior Executive Vice President of Social Impact, Growth Initiatives, and Legislative Affairs. Here's her story.
A high school tennis player, Kim Davis channeled her tenacity on the tennis court into an impressive career. As an executive at J.P. Morgan Chase, Davis quickly made her mark, managing powerful men who were often much older than her. but her fearless leadership style set her apart. Davis then signed on to Teneo as Senior Managing Director, advising Fortune 500 companies and executives. In 2017, she entered the sports arena, joining the NHL as Senior Executive Vice President of Social Impact, Growth Initiatives, and Legislative Affairs. Davis's leadership and philanthropic work has made a major impact on the league over the past 5 years, and she promises there's more to come. Kim Davis is a woman who means business.
And now Kim Davis, NHL Senior Executive Vice President of Social Impact, Growth Initiatives, and Legislative Affairs, joins us now. Kim, thank you so much for being with us this morning. We're loving this series, and we're so happy to have you join us for it. So first, I just spoke about how you manage people at J.P. Morgan Chase. In some cases, men were older than you were, which I think just on its surface sounds intimidating to anyone. And we love using this series to sort of hear how you navigated certain times in your life. Can you tell us how you sort of found your voice and were able to find a place at the table in an environment like that? What was that like?
Good morning, first of all, Savannah. So great to be with you. When I think back on my career some 30 years ago, the thing that occurs to me is that I always felt like I deserved a seat around the table. And I was lucky enough to have both mentors and sponsors early in my career. And one of my first sponsors told me that men suffer from the imposter syndrome more than women do. And that stuck with me. And so whenever I felt like my confidence was waning, I always remembered those words. And that really helped me navigate some of those more difficult situations.
I love the way that you just said that you always felt specifically that you deserved a seat at the table, because I think so much of the time, so many of us are just wondering, is there room? Never mind even considering the fact that there should be. So just act accordingly. You're known, for now being in the sports world. And I think that's something, as in many fields, probably the same thing could be said about J.P. Morgan Chase, but the sports world, something we often regard as male dominated. And I know that the NHL also didn't have much diversity going on. What was it like to enter that world, and what's it been like to try to make real change in that regard?
Yeah, I go back to that idea of mentors and sponsors. And when I talk to young people, I often distinguish between a mentor and sponsor, as a mentor being someone that tells you and a sponsor sells you. And I was lucky enough to have in the commissioner of the NHL, Gary Bettman, both a mentor and a sponsor. He both told me what I needed to do in order to be successful, but he also sold me to owners and presidents of the clubs in a way that helped me to really accelerate my lack of hockey knowledge, but the competencies that I brought from 30 years of experience.
Wow, we love this segment because there's always these little things that we can write down and remember to help us all out. And one tells you, one sells you. That's a good one. When you talk about now the league being diverse and representative of everyone, I know that you've said this is a movement, not a moment. Explain, what that means to you at the NHL with the actual work that you're doing now, but also what it should look like across industries.
Yeah, for the NHL, it's been perceived as a sport that wasn't necessarily for multicultural audiences and women. And in many ways, I think my work is to really burst that myth. There's a rich history of Blacks in the sport of hockey going back to the 1800s, as well as the first woman back in the 1800s. It's an article in a Ottawa magazine. So the idea here is to create these ambassadors all over North America and all over the world that love hockey and can talk about and tell their stories about hockey. And that really means a movement that includes everyone that loves the sport of hockey and those that want to love the sport of hockey.
I love that. Kim, you've already dispelled quite a few words of wisdom, but we do always like to end this segment by just asking for one specific piece of advice that a young woman who's watching this right now could kind of grab onto and remember as she's embarking on her career.
Find ways to manage what I call the 3 Ps: your preparation, your passion, and your purpose. And not every job is going to provide passion and purpose, but when you are prepared and you find that integration of passion and purpose, you will be successful.
This is what I'm saying. We always need to take notes during this segment, the 3 Ps. I love it. Kim Davis, thank you so much. Really an honor to have you join us for the segment. We appreciate your time this morning. So great to talk to you.
Thanks, Savannah.
How fun is it hearing all this advice again? Well, we've got another favorite from our Women Mean Business series. Our next guests are keeping it all in the family. Vanessa and Kim Pham are first-generation Vietnamese Americans who are celebrating the bold flavors of their heritage through what's called Om Som. That's their business. It's their brand of sauces and saucy noodles. Here's their story.
As the daughters of Vietnamese refugees, Vanessa and Kim Pham grew up in Boston, watching their mom cook dinner from scratch every night. The sisters built careers in startups and consulting, but ultimately, their hearts drew them back to the kitchen. Vanessa and Kim noticed there was a void in many grocery stores when it came to authentic Asian flavors. They set out to change that, holding down various side hustles while they focused on building and launching the company of their dreams. That company was Om Som, meaning noisy or rambunctious in Vietnamese, a nod to how their parents would describe their childhood behavior. Now, Vanessa and Kim say that perfectly describes the spirit of their cooking sauces and saucy noodles, which give you the bold flavors you need to build an authentic Asian dish. Shaking up your local markets with their daring, unapologetic Asian fare, the Pham sisters are women who mean business.
Vanessa and Kim Pham join me now. Good morning to you both. First, I love your smiles and laughter just watching that. How cute. I mean, I just love that your sister's getting to do this, which we'll get into in just a moment. Vanessa, though, I'll start with you. And I want to hear more about your mom, just learning about being in the kitchen from her, what that experience was like and how it ultimately did influence you both.
Absolutely. So as the daughters of Vietnamese refugees, food and my mom's cooking was such an entry point into really engaging with our identity, learning about our culture. And then from there, you know, we were able to access so much more. But that was really the starting point, being around the dinner table together and eating all this incredible Vietnamese food. So, yeah, our mom was extremely influential in our lives.
And Kim, I know growing up in Boston, what was it like in terms of seeing food that represented your culture?
Yeah, I think we grew up with a lot of feelings of shame and other as it related to our identity and as an extension, our food. And so I think starting Om Som for Vanessa and I was really like a pivotal personal journey of reclaiming and celebrating what we once were ashamed of. And so it feels really good to be building something so proud and loud because that is absolutely reflected in our own identities.
Absolutely. And just a little bit, I mean, I know the story's long, but what was it like to launch? How hard was it? I know it was during the pandemic, which seems hard just on its face. I mean, how did that impact it? And just as two young women getting a business off the ground, what was that like?
Oh my gosh, so challenging. One of the most challenging things we've ever done. And I think, you know, together as sisters, we've been really able to support each other, figure out where our strengths lie and build something from heart and intention. And I think anytime we've gone through anything extremely challenging, recentering in our values has been what's given us clarity to proceed. So that's been our kind of secret sauce in running the business.
Absolutely. And what was it like to launch in the pandemic?
I mean, to say an entrepreneurship journey is easy is a lie. It's been really brutal and beautiful in so many different ways. But for us, it was really interesting when we were setting out to launch. You know, we actually got a ton of advice from advisors and investors who were like, hey, this is not the time. You know, like there's a pandemic. We don't know what's going to happen. But we really, like Vanessa said, took that time to recenter in our values and in our roots. And something told us, like, now is the time. Like, more Americans are cooking now more than ever. And also people really want proud and loud Asian flavors that will spark joy in their home kitchens during this tough time. And so, yeah, we, against all odds, made the leap.
We talked a little bit about this in that setup piece we played, but you just mentioned proud and loud.
Yeah.
The name means something very specific. Tell me about choosing that name.
It does. So when we were starting the brand, we had no idea what to call ourselves. And we kind of kept returning to this idea of rowdy and rambunctious. So Om Som is rooted in the Vietnamese phrase Om Som, which actually is a negative term. It's like what you would chastise your children with, like, don't be so Om Som. And we love this idea of like reclaiming that and making it ours in a really kind of like middle finger way. And so Om Som just felt really authentic to what we're trying to do, which is like kind of shake things up.
Absolutely. And what's it like getting to do this with your sister? Question for both of you.
It is the most beautiful journey and one of the hardest things, too, because everything is so deeply personal when you're building a brand that's born of your identity. And so Kim and I together have navigated the hardest times. We've gotten closer through it. We've learned to be more vulnerable with each other through it. And I think, you know, it's a journey that I would never, you know, change.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It seems like you guys are like best friends as well as sisters.
Hard-earned, Mama. Hard-earned. But really, yeah, I can't, like, it's such a privilege to live with and alongside her.
We were just talking before, my sister and I were the same ages and the same age difference, and how much fun to get to do this hand in hand every day and have it be a successful company. I mean, it probably doesn't even feel like work a lot of the time. Hard work.
It still feels like work.
Yeah. And I know now you're across the country, in Whole Foods, everywhere. It's only been a few months of that. How's it been going?
Oh my gosh, it's been incredible seeing the reception of the saucy noodles. They're already just like flying off the shelves, and it's been just a dream come true to like actually see those numbers come in and be like, it's working.
Yeah, I think even more important, our parents went out to Whole Foods when we launched, and we're like taking selfies in the aisle, and I was like, the dream is to do them proud. So,
How proud is your mom, especially after it kind of being born in her kitchen?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're like our biggest fans. I think when we first launched, they were like, entrepreneurship? Not sure. You know, as refugees, understandably, they have a different risk profile than us. But they gave us the privilege to work on this, and now they really are like, they're just our biggest fans.
That's so fantastic. All right, we've only got like 30 seconds left, but we always ask in Women Mean Business your piece of advice for a woman who's watching right now who might want to be on the path that you're on. Vanessa, I'll start with you.
Mine would be to welcome the feelings and emotions that come along with the journey. It's hard. Things will come up. I would say don't feel like you need to suppress your emotions or your sensitivity. Make space for them, and that will be where you unlock clarity and access connection.
And Kim?
Authenticity is your superpower. The world will try to put you in a box. All the ways that you fall outside of that box are your greatest strengths.
There we go. You guys are awesome. Thank you for coming by. Thank you for being part of Women Mean Business. This was so fantastic. Vanessa and Kim Pham, both of you, thank you. Authenticity is your superpower. Love that. Well, coming up, 'tis the season for Christmas movies. From the classics to new releases, we are bringing you a special holiday edition of our can't miss list on this Black Friday. That's next on Morning News Now. Well, welcome back. It's Friday, which means, as usual, it is time for our weekly can't miss list. But this week, we are focusing on holiday specials. I'm talking 24-hour marathons to timeless classics. We've got a complete rundown of all the best holidays, movies, shows, all the things coming up this weekend. And we've got our friend, our girl, Darren Cart back. I convinced her to put on this hat and this necklace.
You did something.
And by our fire. Ooh,
it's so warm.
Nice and cozy.
Where's my hot cocoa?
Can we get some hot cocoa? Because it's Christmas time, don't you think? It's the holiday season.
Yes.
When are we going to start seeing the classics starting? I'm talking Elf.
Right. Well, I mean, as soon as I feel like November hits and post-Thanksgiving, it is well into the holidays. Okay, I had to write all of this down because there's so... Can you take me seriously in this? This is what you wanted, a Jewish person in all of this stuff. So I've got you. Okay, so we've got some amazing marathons going down. We've got Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer classic, which is going to be on CBS Monday, November 27th at 8 p.m. Good one to watch with the kids. Savannah, you got to maintain your composure here for this. We've got White Christmas on AMC, as you can see. This is from 1954. This is a Tuesday, November 28th, 9:15. Just running down. There's The Grinch on NBC. Okay, but this is the classic Grinch, not the Jim Carrey Grinch. Let's not confuse that. December 1st at 8 p.m. A Charlie Brown Christmas from 1965. This is actually going to be on Apple TV. So Apple recently, this is actually going to stream free on Apple TV December 16th and 17th. Apple actually got the rights to all of Peanut stuff. So anytime you want anything Charlie Brown or Snoopy related, you're going to go to Apple TV Plus. And of course, It's a Wonderful Life from 1946. NBC Sunday, December 24th at 8 p.m., which is on Christmas Eve. So
love it.
You're getting your fix all of December.
I am. Those were good classics to bring up. Okay, what about new Christmas movies that we're getting sent this year?
Well, okay. Well, we have 24-hour marathons to go through. We've got Elf. We've got Christmas Vacation. New movies, some holiday ones. We got Genie on Peacock. This actually stars Melissa McCarthy. I don't know if you've seen the trailer for this.
Yes.
It's super funny. It's on our sister streaming network, Peacock. And so basically what happens here is she plays Flora, this amazingly funny, out-of-date genie. Melissa McCarthy's kind of perfect for this. She befriends Bernard. You can see her genie shoes. She befriends Bernard, who all he wishes is to kind of reunite with his family this holiday season. He's dropped the ball, so he wishes for this. And in turn, he kind of teaches her the delicacies of living in the present-day world, like pizza, for example, and having Christmas cheer. It's really funny. It's really cute. It's on Peacock, and I'm a fan of it. See, this is when she discovers pizza. And then, of course, we've got Best Christmas Ever. I actually just watched this the other day. This stars Brandy, and Heather Graham, of course. And Brandy, every single year she plays Jackie. She writes this Christmas holiday newsletter that makes her life seem perfect, much to the chagrin of Charlotte over there, played by Heather Graham, who's just annoyed with her. So she goes to spend the holidays with her to kind of disprove this perfect image.
This is funny? It's a comedy?
It turns it on its head. It's good for the whole family.
All right, tell us about Elf, all the other big good ones.
Okay, so we've got some Christmas marathons here. Elf,
the marathons.
Which is on TBS November 24th, starting at 8 p.m. Friday. At 8 p.m., National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is on TNT.
So good.
Saturday, and then A Christmas Story, which I cannot celebrate Christmas without seeing A Christmas Story. This is on TBS and TNT, Sunday, December 24th. It plays for a full 24 hours. Only I didn't say fudge. It's one of my favorite Christmas movies. Thank you for getting it. This is like makes the leg lamp very popular during the Christmas times. It's one of my favorites. You have to see it. Little Ralphie is just so cute and so perfect.
It's such a good one.
Yeah.
Okay. It wouldn't be Christmas without Hallmark movies. I mean, and their ridiculously impressive slate every year.
Okay, yes, ridiculously impressive slate. Let me just remind everyone that there was a big Hollywood strike with writers, with actors this year, and so of course it's going to affect the number of movies that we can churn out. However, Hallmark is still managing to churn out 40. The Great American Family Network is going to do 20, and Lifetime is going to do 12. So it is replete with Christmas vomit everywhere. Okay, you can't get enough of this, and this is what's going to be good. Savannah, what's your favorite holiday movie? What's your favorite Christmas movie?
It's hands down easy, The Holiday.
Oh, you love a little Cameron Diaz. You love a little Kate Winslet.
I love Nancy Myers.
Oh, okay.
And last year I got to interview her about it. It was like a dream come true. And that movie, it's just so good. I actually started November 1st, and I've already watched it probably 15 times because I just kind of like
keep
it on
so
repeat.
Cozy. I want that cottage in London or whatever it is, whatever that is.
The Cotswolds. What about you?
I'm between two, Home Alone, of course, just because I grew up in a suburb, and Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I know that seems crazy, but this was my childhood, and Christmas is nostalgic for me. It is just makes me think of being a kid and waking up at 7 a.m. to presents, so you gotta love it.
Happy holidays.
Happy
Thank
holidays.
you for coming. Also, you can be sure to see the tree in our backyard get lit up, the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. That's next Wednesday, I think.
Yes, you can. Hosted by Kelly Clarkson,
There
and
you
it
go.
goes
It's gonna be
50,000 Swarovski lights go off right before 10 p.m. on
There we
NBC.
go. There we go. All right, Darren Karp, thank you as always.
Thanks for having me.
That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now, but the news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.